Safaa Nhairy is a journalist and social commentator from Morocco who is now based in London. In late 2006, she undertook a journey through Europe to see how the landscape is changing for immigrants, and more specifically, Arab Muslims in a post-9/11 7/7 landscape.
As a journalist who is both Maghrebi and living in the West, this is a poignant personal journey for me to discover the truth about the immigration experience in Europe today.
Day to day, you can't fail to be affected by the hysterical rhetoric in the mass media telling you that your life is under threat because of the new foreigners and immigration in your country.
My journey through the heart of the Muslim community in Europe drew some surprising and sometimes worrying conclusions as I discovered a community that is diverse, articulate and also troubled by political, social and economic worries, both at home and across the world. What I wanted to discover was how these communities perceive their lives in the West, especially to the sound of post-9/11 neocon drumbeats. What perceptions do they face from their host nations, and what are the different approaches taken by each nation to work with their immigration? Our journey will take us through Madrid, Paris and London, cities which through recent events find themselves on the front line on the question of immigration, through events like 7/7, the French riots and the bombings on the subway in Madrid. The question is whether we will find hope or despair at the state of immigration. My first port of call was a meeting with Charo Garcia, who works with an NGO in Madrid.
This neighborhood is called Lavapiés. It's of a very old and popular neighborhood in Madrid, and now it's full of all kind of immigration that has come in the recent years.
And in terms of the immigrants, are they new immigrants to Spain, or have they been living here for a long time?
In Spain, most immigrants are quite new. So basically it's a thing of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So there are not really very, very old people living here. Like there are very few second generation people, very, very few.
What happened after 11th March? Do you think that this situation has changed for North Africans in Spain in terms of how they're perceived, how they're...
I was scared, very scared about that. The first thing I thought it was that the life in the neighborhood would become much worse, like much more tension. But it really went quite well in that sense, I thought. So the first day it was kind of nervousness. There was plenty of cameras near here because it was right here that they arrested the people who were involved. I guess it has some effect, but not that as big as I thought it would have.
Did the people who planned the bombings
We're just living here.
For you, as someone who lives here, is that fine with you?
Of course, not fine for me, but in Spain we also have been living a lot of time with other terrorisms. It's everywhere in the world, wherever you go. I mean, it can be Basque people or whatever. But of course you cannot make a judgment for the whole community because of that.
That's regarding terrorism. What about Islamophobia? Do you think it does exist in Spain?
Well, I think it's very funny in Spain. Well, it's not funny, but many people who complain about, I mean, the excuse is like women rights. But most of the people who claim that Muslim people are not respecting women's rights were the people who 20 years ago in Spain were okay with that women couldn't work without the man's permission and things like that. So it's very funny that they use this as an excuse to criticize Muslims, and more it's basically ignorance. So.
Mohammed, a Moroccan migrant who has moved to Madrid and set up his own restaurant business, lives in Lavapiés with his wife and children, right opposite the flat where one of the bombers lived.
واش كتشوف يعني مستقبل الولاد ديالك؟
انا الصراحه جيت من المغرب على مستقبل ولادي لا هذا هو ماشي من هدايه الله. المغرب قريت انا فيها وعندي شباب قارين في حقا بحال إقوال بحال هنا بحال تما كاينين در شباب حاملين الشهادات هنا ما خدامينش تما نفس الشيء بلادنا لان ولادينا عارف الناس عندهم ولادهم حتى كبروا بدوا لي يصون قال لهم ها حرب تبعوا اهل ديالهم حربوا الانسان يعطي راسو الحريق دراسه فكر قلت هذا انا ما قدر باقي على العمل نوزو جديد فكرنا لا نمشيو نديو هاد الاولاد لا ما يصدعونا هاد التجربه شفناها مع الناس اخرين تما الناس لاباس عليهم انا كنت قاري قالوا لنا هذا رينيسونس هذا السيد نيس كاين اكثر اجازي غيبدلوا الحياه ديالهم حقا انا جيت هنا على الولاد.
Leaving Lavapiés, I had a meeting with Kamal Rahmouni, president of ATIME, an association for Moroccan migrant workers.
المغاربة يقولوا من بين الأوائل المهاجرين اللي يعني جاوا لإسبانيا واللي فكروا آنذاك في الاستقرار. لماذا؟ كاين مجموعة العوامل. يعني أولاً التطور الاقتصادي كيطرح وكيمنح فرص ديال الشغل. يعني كذلك العامل الجغرافي. العامل الجغرافي كيلعب دور كبير يعني بزاف المهاجرين يعني المغاربة اللي مقيمين في إسبانيا بعض المرات كتحلم شي فرص شغل في دول أخرى كيف كيبقاو هنا العامل ديال القرب.
¿De qué vamos a hablar de todo?
Por ejemplo.
Yo me llamo Khalid, el nombre, el apellido es Tawfil, la edad tengo 33 años.
فائدة تشوف أن المغاربة يعني في إسبانيا كيشكلوا يعني مشكل للإسبانيين يعني كيشوفوا المغاربة كمشكلة
لا.
أو
لا ما كاينش هاد الرأي وكذلك ما كل الابحاث والدراسات ما كتعطيش هاد الرؤيه هذه بالعكس اللي بالاضافه الى الابحاث والدراسات اللي تعملت اللي كاين هو كاين نوعا ما شيئا ديال نقولوا حنا ديال الانشغال وديال التخوف.
Marta Rodriguez Tarducci Diaz, the Spanish director of immigration, agreed to talk to me on how Spanish people perceive immigrants.
La sociedad española percibe como problema la inmigración irregular, porque en el propio desarrollo de las encuestas que se hacen, las respuestas respecto a la percepción de los derechos que deben de tener, abrumadoramente todos creen que deben de tener los derechos de sanidad, los derechos de educación, los derechos laborales, todos acogen muy bien